Hi, Paul from Outer Loop Coaching, outerloopcoaching.com here this week to talk to you about how to release your full-length album on social media. And this is a very, very big topic. It's got a lot of stuff to it. So I'm going to shrink my head down into the corner if you're watching on YouTube, and I'm going to pull up a spreadsheet to show you how you can kind of lay it out and plan it. When you're putting together your release schedule for a 12 to 18 week long release rollout for your full-length album, you're going to want to plan it. And I got to tell you, as ugly as it is, using Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel or some other program like that is a awesome tool to try to organize when things happen, so that way everything is on one page and you know what you're doing as you're going through your full release rollout. If you make it up as you go along, you're just doomed to fail. And so this is how you do it, and this is how you do it right. If you're listening to this on the Managemental podcast, no worries. I'm going to try to give as much descriptive detail as I possibly can to explain what it is that I'm showing everybody on YouTube. But if there's anything you want to see, feel free. Come over to Outer Loop Records, Outer Loop Group on the YouTube, and there'll be plenty for you to look at there. All right, so this is your Google Sheets is what I'm using. It's a free tool online. You can just go to docs.google.com and choose the sheets. And what else? I was going to say something else about here, the release rollout. You know, it isn't just about the album, right? It's about your release assets and all the different things that you do in order to generate as much excitement and anticipation for your album release as you possibly can. So let's start here. Let's just assume that you are going to release your album or your full-length album sometime in like late July. Let's say that something like the 28th of July is, say, the last Friday of the month. What you want to do then, and you can do this with using if you're good with the Google Sheets or the Excel, you can use a formula in order to subtract 7, but I'm just going to do this fairly quickly this way. What I'm doing is I am making each column here is a Friday leading up to the release day, right? If that makes sense. And I'm not going to go all the way. I'm just going to put in a handful here. What I've done here is July 28th, 21st, July 14th on the column C, column D, July 7, June 30, June 23rd, June 16th here on the column G, and so forth, right? Just keep on going back, keep on going back, keep on going back. And I'm not even sure if that month breaks out exactly right. I'm going to just insert one column here to the left, so that way we've got a column here where we can describe what we're putting into each of these rows, okay? So the first thing that you've got here in cell A2 are your major events, right? What are the major events when you're releasing an album? Your first thing, the biggest thing, is the actual album release, right? And then some other major events might be single 3 of 3. If you're putting out 3 singles leading up to the album release, your single 2 of 3, and then let's say single 1 of 3. You might want to include, if you're doing a full thing, especially if you were on Release It Right, which we do at Outer Loop Coaching, you'd want to include things like your release parties, your listening parties, and a lot of other information in this, but we're just going to stick to the major stuff as you get to social media. Here we're talking about your assets, and I'm just going to keep it really simple here. I'm just going to number 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to there can be 40, there could be 100, there could be a ton. I'm just going to put about 15 or so here, different release assets. And then I'm going to add one more column so we can just describe these in a little more detail. If your album release, put in the name of the album, name of your single, 3 of 3, name of single 2 of 3, and name of single 1 of 3. And then your release assets could be things like let's see, acoustic performance video, It could be graphic of a playlist on Spotify. It could be a teaser video of music video for single 3 of 3, right? And so on and so forth, right? And what you want to do is you want to order these and organize them. You might want to use colors or something like that in order to try to figure out what these are all related to. For example, that acoustic performance video, if the song that you are performing is single 2 of 3, well, that might be something that you want to put out before the single comes out in order to generate interest in that single. You know, people are hearing about what it's going to sound like. They're going to get excited for it. So that is what you're trying to do. You're trying to build some anticipation for each single, build anticipation for the album release. The way you do it is you get this stuff out to people who are interested in what you do, or who may be interested in what you do, in the places that you have control. You have total control of the dissemination of all this stuff are your social media outlets, your YouTube, your Facebook, your Instagram, Twitter, etc. Right? So what you want to do is, let's say that release date for the album is right here. I'm just going to put an X in the cell that is the where the what would you describe it? The where the date, in the column, the date of the release date. Okay, so we're going to put that there. And let's say that the single is the single 3 of 3. Let's say you're going to put that out the week before. That'd be the 21st. The single 2 of 3. Let's say you're putting that out around the 23rd of June. And the first single, we don't know when that comes out, but it's way back there, and so on and so forth. And there is a strategy that you can employ as to when all these should be released in order to have the best chance to build that anticipation for your album release. But we're not going to go into too much detail for that here. So you can easily see how you've got these columns, and here I'm just going to put in some borders here so that way you can kind of see them a little bit clearer, right? But you can see how you're going to need 2 or 3 assets maybe the week of you release that single 3 of 3. You want to put it on Instagram, you want to put it on Facebook, and so on and so forth. Let's assume that the acoustic performance video is related to that single 3 of 3, right? So we would just put Instagram and Facebook, and you want to put that out the week of the 21st. Your teaser video for that music video also is going to go out on Instagram and Facebook on the 21st, the week of the 21st. But you might also have a graphic of lyrics of single 3 of 3, right? So what, maybe you would put that out just on Instagram, put that out a week ahead of time, right? And so what I'm doing here, if you're just listening on Managemental, is I've got a column for a date, right? It's the 21st of July, for example. That's the release date of single 3 of 3. And then what I've got are the assets listed below that are all the assets for supporting the singles and the album and the release. And I'm just delineating Instagram/Facebook, just Instagram, just Facebook, just on YouTube, so on and so forth. I'm going to delineate where I want those to go, and it's just the week of. So that way I can have tons and tons of stuff that goes out on the same week, and I'm going to try to put in a ton of things that I want to have happen on all my social medias to support everything that I do. And I want to build that anticipation really, really well. And it might be helpful, as you see I'm doing here. I'm just putting in the Facebook and Instagram without knowing what the assets are going to be. It might be able to a way to help you creatively think of different assets you can develop in order to support the release. But this is how you're thinking about and you're organizing the release of your album on social media. You know exactly what date you're releasing it, and you know how much stuff and what stuff you need to release out to social media to build the anticipation for that release. And so this is basically how it's done. And we go into a lot more detail on in the Release It Right program and other stuff that we do in Outer Loop coaching. But I think that this is a good introduction to how you can organize how to release your album on social media. We're going to have more next week. And as always, if you have any questions or whatnot, just put them down in the comments below. I will happily answer every single one. I always do. And I'll see you next week. I hope this was helpful for you. And if you have any questions, you can always email me as well. Paul@outerloopmanagement.com or Paul@outerloopcoaching.com. And I will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.